Hey traders, it's Greg from Trade90X, and welcome to another trade class. Today I'm going to do our watch list edge video number 2. And this one I'm going to do with stockcharts.com. Again, the watch list one is where I use FinViz to find stocks for people in our community, because we have a lot of people in the community that like to just trade stocks. So our Trade90X watch list video can be used on the weekends at the close of each day. And again, we have a very specific, simple process that allows us to find stocks quickly and effectively. So let's do this first. Again, hopefully you caught our weekend breakdown, but again, let me just go through because this is important. So again, what we like to do is we like to call it the earn the right to trade live process. Anything now, if you have any questions, hit us up at hello@trade90x.com. Now remember, right now for a short period of time, you could take advantage if you go to our Trade90X Instagram page profile and you can book a 15-minute free call. So if you don't understand anything about this masterclass, don't hold back. Listen, now, you know that here at Trade90X, it's always about the same thing. Number one, every strategy we have has to be back tested over a period of time to prove it has a statistical edge. Number two, you have to know your numbers. Now, for us, for active trading, again, I give you all the goods. I don't hold back. Again, for our numbers for active trading, I can only speak for us. We don't risk more than 0.5 to 2% of our capital per session. We don't risk more than 3 to 5% of our capital in a session. We don't risk more than 0.5 to 2% of capital per trade. Sorry about that. Now, our risk reward minimum is always 2 to 1 to target 1 and higher. Now, we also have we define profit and loss targets during the day. We don't want to take more than 3 to 5% in any one session. And the reason we do this is about capital preservation. Again, if you want to succeed at business, you must know your numbers. If you want to scale your business, you must know your numbers. If you do not know your numbers, you are going to fail, not just at trading, but any business. We clear. Excellent. Now, as I've told you, the only thing I care about is number one, your strategy's tested, you know your numbers. Do you understand what bullish, bearish, or range markets look like? Do you understand what the A setups are of bullish, bearish, range markets? And again, understanding the entries, the stops, the targets, how to manage that trade, and then the journal process, okay? This is how we do things here at Trade90X. If you don't understand these simple things, that's our trade plan, whether we're scalping, day trading, swing, or position trading. Again, everything's tested, know our numbers, mastering bullish, bearish, range price action, and then also mastering where there's no edge, doing nothing, and then mastering what those bullish, bearish, range setups look like. Okay, it's that simple. Okay, and when you're part of the Trade90X Earn the Right to Trade Live process, you're going to go through extensive repetition, back testing, so that when you're ready to when you're trading, you know exactly. Okay, not only that, but you also understand your risk and money management. Now, the steps that we use for our Trade90X watch list are all right here. Now, again, bullish setups, bear setups. When I'm bullish, I want to see the sectors with the S&P bullish. Okay, I want to see, or not just the S&P, I want to see the sectors with the indices, your S&P, NASDAQ, Russell, Dow. Why? Because this is going to give you the highest probability. Okay, now let's go through that. Now, bearishness, I want to see the market context bearish. I want to see the indices bearish, and I want to see the sectors bearish. Those are things that really help our odds enhancers. So let's go look at it real quick. So again, as we do this, again, I always want to know when news is coming out. So again, if you're trading, I don't care if you're scalp, day trading, or swing, make sure you know when important news and earnings are coming out this week. Again, this week, as I'm doing this watch listing, we have a lot of important news coming out this week, and we have a lot of important companies reporting. So always pay attention. Fear and greed index, always this kind of tells us what the sentiment is. Right now, we're in neutral. So it tells us we have a lot of indecision going on. Right here, stock momentum, go to stocks, market momentum, and based on every stock on the 50-day moving average, look at that, you have bearish momentum going on. Again, FinViz, I love to use their heat map. Again, the sector information. again, going from, as active traders, 3 months, 1 month, 1 week, 1 day. And we can see that there's definitely the longer term is hanging in there, the main trend, but the shorter term, definitely more bearish. So again, we use that main trend to understand, and the shorter term as active traders, we can use that shorter term to trade within that main trend. But we also are aware that if the main trend is staying bullish and we're trying to take, say, these shorter trades, we are also very aware that bigger time buyers are still active being bullish. All right. And you'll learn all that in the Earn the Right to Trade Live today. This is just about finding the best symbols to trade, whether we're bullish or bearish. Again, commitment or trader report. This only comes out Friday. This tells us where the big institutions and banks, the commitment or trader report. Now, this is the S&P. And look, you see right here, this is what I said. The main trend is still bullish until proven otherwise. Okay. And this is key right here. This is why I always go through this in my market breakdowns. Now, stockcharts.com is where we're going to play today. So again, what we're going to do is, again, the first thing I always do is we look at the market context. Okay, that's critical that we understand where we want to trade. All right, so the first thing I'm always going to do is we just went through the news, we went through the earnings, we went through fear and greed, we just went through stocks based on the 50-day moving average. We just looked at the sectors. Okay, we looked at the commitment trade report. Now we're going to get a little bit more granular right here. And again, I'm going to look at the indices, Dow, S&P, NASDAQ, NYA, and Russell. I also want to look at the VIX, 10-year, and dollar. Okay. Now, today we're going to be looking at Watchlist. So first thing I'm going to do is look at the main trend. Okay. The main trend, remember, bullish momentum, bearish momentum range. Bullish is lower left to upper right. Bearish is upper left to lower right. And the trades that we look for are those clear momentum legs into pullback and pause. Now, for swing trading or position, I look for the bullish and bearish momentum. Range trading is really more for my day in scalping. So what I'm looking for is the symbols that are showing me. So again, bullish is lower left, upper right. Bearish is upper left to lower right. Ranges are equal highs, equal lows. Bullish and bearish momentum, though, again, those momentum into pullback and pause. Those momentum into pullback and pauses is where we're going to look for the trades. So if we're bullish, I want to see that we've got the S&P, we've got the sectors behind us if we're going to be bullish. And then, of course, we have to have a setup. If I'm bearish, I want to see bearish S&P, bearish sectors. And then, of course, we have that bearish momentum looking for the momentum and pullback and pause. All right. So right now, what I'm seeing is in the longer term, the long term's hanging in there, but we're definitely seeing that short-term opportunity to be bearish. And you can see the Dow is moving lower left to upper right. Upper left to lower right. S&P is starting to move upper left to lower right. Now, the NASDAQ is definitely in a range. The NYA is starting to move upper left to lower right, and so is the Russell. Okay, and we can see that the VIX, 10-year, and dollar are moving up, so we're seeing that confirmation. All right, so again, if we're going to trade with the power of the market, the next step I'm going to be using, again, we're doing this all from stockcharts.com. My first masterclass we did with FinViz. So this way I can stay right here. I'm going to go to predefined groups. Okay, now the thing that I like to do, this is me, there's two ways to do this. We can go to the S&P against the sectors, and we can see the S&P right now is starting to see weakness. So if I'm going to trade based on that, what I'm going to look at is which one of these sectors has the weakest price action. Well, we have the staples, upper left to lower right. We have the healthcare, upper left to lower right. And those would be the two right now. And then again, XLF is starting to break down. But these two are really starting to show me that momentum into pullback and pause. So if I was going to use with the S&P, I would then go to staples and healthcare. Now, let me go back. So the Dow now has been the weakest, okay? So what we can do is I'm going to show you again. Let's just be clear what we did. We went through the news. We went through the earnings. We're showing that the sentiment is starting to get weak. We see that based on the 50-day moving average that we have weak momentum. We know based on the sectors, the main trend is still hanging in there, but the short term is definitely bearish. We know the long term is still hanging in there bullish. But we know now, again, the long term is hanging in, but we're definitely having some short-term weakness. And then we can see it right here. So we identified that staples and healthcare are weak, but we also see that the Dow is super weak. So there's ways that we can approach this. So if the Dow is really weak, I'm going to go here and I'm going to go look at remember, Dow is only the top 30 stocks. And this is a very simple way to look right here. And I love doing this. So we've identified that right now, short-term bearishness. So what I want to do is look to see, again, remember, this is not rocket science. All we're trying to do is understand, is the power bullish or bearish or indecision? If we have clear bullish and bearish momentum, then we can start looking for our swing trades. Okay. Now we do that by looking at the information I showed you. Now, once we find the symbols, again, here are my rules. When I find symbols, what I'm looking for is the day that I'm trading. I want to see, if I'm going to be bearish, I want to see that S&P bearish. I want to see the sectors bearish that day. And whichever symbols we're going to pick right now, we're going to go through it. I'm going to then look for price to then move through my entry below. If I'm bullish, okay, remember, and I have everything right here. If I'm bullish, same thing. I want the market context, bullish S&P, bullish sectors, and any bullish symbols that we're looking at, I want to see them break through their entry price. All right, so now that we've identified the short term is bearish on the Dow, which one of these symbols, let's go through them. Apple, no. You're basing now popping up. AXP, again, I want the ones that are really clear. So Amgen definitely had one right here, but now it's kind of sideways. Amazon is bullish, no. CAT is bullish, no. Now Boeing, definitely upper left to lower right. Okay, so Boeing is definitely one that goes on my list. CRM, no, it's sideways. Cisco, sideways, no. No, again, I want that upper left to lower right. So no, yes, right here, Home Depot. So Boeing, Home Depot, definitely go on the list. Honeywell, nope. IBM, definitely. Intel, definitely. Johnson & Johnson, definitely. McDonald's, definitely. Again, I want the ones that have clear. Okay, Nike, upper left to lower right, but now it's starting to base, so no. So if we're going to, so what I want to see on Monday, okay, so let's go look at it. We have Boeing. No, I'm not going to pick that one. So we got Boeing, Home Depot, McDonald's, J&J, Intel, IBM. We also have United Health, definitely breaking down, okay, which is clear to me. So what I want to see is on Monday, okay, I'm going to put these in a list. And then what we're going to do is we then go to a chart. You're going to go to a chart. Go to the daily chart. Let's just put in Boeing. All right. So if you remember, hopefully you caught my market breakdown. So whenever I look at a symbol, I'm always going to look at it from a top-down approach. And then what I use is I use my, this is a fast momentum band and then a moving average. And what I want to see is when they're bullish, they're sloping up. When they're bearish, they're sloping down. And I also like to use line charts. And the reason I like to use line charts to start is because I can see those clear momentum into pullback and pauses. Like right here, momentum into pullback and pause. And what I do is I like to use the daily chart typically. So what I'm looking for is once I see those momentum into pullback and pauses, I then put on my candlesticks. And what I'm looking for is I'm looking for that momentum into pullback and pauses where I have, so bullishness, what I'm looking for is I like to look for engulfing candles. I like to look for pin bar candles. Again, I'm going to do another separate video on those. Or I like to look for dojis into engulfing and pin bars. So when I look at that right here, I see a doji candle right here into engulfing. This one we gapped up, and so no. And then we have a doji into engulfing. We have a pin bar right here. So these would be my setups based on being, again, at or above the sloping moving average if I'm bullish. Now, if I'm bearish, I want to see price momentum into pullback and pause. Let's go to the line chart. And let's see what we have here. So these pullback and pauses. And then you can see we went sideways. And whenever we go sideways, I put a line, I put lines right like that. Again, there we go. And then I look for those pullback and pauses or breakdowns right here. All right. So this is how we take any symbol on our list using stockcharts.com. And again, if we're going to be bearish, I have to identify it, number one, with the context, which we did. Fear and greed is weak. Based on the 50 moving average, it's weak. Based on the short-term sector information, we are weak. And then we look at, again, we can see the short-term on the Dow, S&P, NYA, the Russell are all been weak. NASDAQ is the only one that's going sideways. So with that said, we then go to the top 30 Dow stocks. And because we have more of a short-term bearish bias as active traders, we're going to focus on the symbols that have the most obvious upper left to lower right, not basing. And those were Boeing, HD, McDonald's, J&J, Intel, IBM, and also UNH. We then take those symbols, go to our chart, and we evaluate which one of these has clear momentum into pullback and pause using our momentum bands and then using the line chart. And then on the bearish side, I want to see momentum into pullback and pause. I'm looking for red engulfings. I'm looking for shooting star on top or dojis into those engulfings and shooting stars. So right now, for me, this is a beautiful setup. Sideways as we break down, engulfing, and right here. So those are the three setups that are in play right now. So then what we're looking for right now is with Boeing is we're looking for, again, this is why I use this strategy. It either is or it isn't. Bullish is lower left to upper right. Bearish is upper left to lower right. But when I'm bullish, I want to see the momentum band sloping higher, down, sloping down, but then we use these momentum into pullback and pauses with the line chart. And then once we see the pullback and pause, we switch to candles and we look to see, again, do we have our break and retest candles? Yes, we do. So now what are we looking for? So on Boeing, what I'm looking for is that pullback and pause. Okay. So as long as we're staying bearish and all the context is bearish, then we know that Boeing is a good setup, but we have to wait for the setup. All right, let's go to HD. So again, this is how we do it. Again, HD, it was moving lower left up right here. Now we have right here and here. Let's go to our candles. Yep, right there. We had our engulfing. On this one, we actually had a gap down. So this one is not one that I really would have liked, actually. Now, what are we waiting for? Now I'm waiting for that pullback and pause. I'm waiting for another pullback and pause. Okay. Let's go right now. We had McDonald's. Again, this is how you're going to do it. You're going to take the symbols that are clear using stockcharts.com, and then we're going to go to the chart, and then we're going to analyze. We're going to have them in our watch list, and we're going to wait now for the obvious pullback and pause. Now, we can see right now McDonald's had a breakdown here. We were bullish. Now we went into kind of that distribution. Now we're breaking down. So let's go see what we have here. So now this one, unfortunately, I do not trade these large candles like that. Too much risk. So this one, nope. This one definitely I like. You had the doji into the candle, so I like that one right there. So now let me show you the actual setup. So we're going to use the short one. So this is right here, the engulfing. We have the doji into it. So remember, we use the whole area. The setup candle right here. My stop is going to be above. So what I like to do is I like to look left. If I see a pivot, it's going to be above that area, not just the entry candle on this one. If there's a pivot right here, and if we break down below it, then the entry is triggered. And then I'm always looking at minimum of 2 to 1, which has already been hit. And again, in your trade plan, when you're part of the Earn the Right to Trade Live, you will back test and see which is best for you. 2 to 1, 3 to 1, 4 to 1. But typically what we've found is somewhere, that 2 to 1. But again, as you get better at this, then, like I said, you'll master this to see what works statistically best for you. All right. Let's go do a few other ones here. Again, let's go do J&J. Again, this is how you do it. Once you get the symbols, again, we use, let's recap. We use the news, earnings, fear and greed to understand sentiment, along with barchart.com using stocks, momentum, based on the 50-day moving average. We use the sectors and FinViz right here to show us short term is absolutely bearish. Now, the longer term is still hanging in there. We know that. Then today we're using StockSharks.com to use the Dow. This is our Watchlist Edge Masterclass 2. And again, we are looking for sentiment. If we're bullish, I want to see all the data looking bullish. If all the data is looking bearish, then I want to look for those short-term trades. And if we can't figure it out, then we're doing nothing. Then once we do that, I go to the Dow, which is our top 30 stocks, and I'm looking for the ones that are moving upper left to lower right, that are clear, momentum into pullback and pause. Let's go look at Johnson & Johnson. So I go to the daily chart. I use the line chart. And this is how I do it. Remember, lower left to upper right is bullish. Upper left to lower right is bearish. Equal highs, equal lows is a range. So for me, we want those clear momentum into pullback and pause. This is why I use the line chart. All right, so then I go to candles, and there we go. We had an engulfing candle, and there we go. Nice engulfing candle. So what are the trades on this one right here? Here we go. So we would take, again, is there a pivot? Yep, right here. Is this doji candle? I want to be above that. As soon as we break below is your entry, and then 2 to 1 would be your target off of that candle. Now, if that candle's too big for you, that's something you're going to test in your Earn the Right to Trade Live back testing process. Again, I happen to like smaller candles, but sometimes you don't get it. So right here, here's your entry candle. Again, I'm going to look at the pivot right above. My stop's going to go above that. And then once we break through, it enters below. And we then look at 2 to 1 target. There we go. So that would be this trade you're already in. Now, if we're looking for a new trade, we then have to wait for that new pullback and pause. And this is why I love using line charts along with it, because we can see it. Now, if you want to use a little bit faster, I don't mind using, a 4-hour. Remember, just the, let's go see the 4-hour. So let's see if we had anything better. Same trades. Now, again, I'll go anywhere. I'll use anywhere from an hourly to a daily is me. So again, the hourly just allows us to get more trades. But again, I'm using that line chart. And again, we have potentially some more trades here. There we go. All right, let's see. Okay, so we had the engulfing there. And then again, as soon as we went sideways here, you would identify it. And then we broke, and then we broke back down right there. And then as soon as we get that, again, upper left to lower right, momentum into pullback and pause, then we can start looking for those trades again. And we put the candles on. There we go. doji into engulfing. And this one didn't give us the greatest entry candle, but again, this is how we do it. So let's go to the line chart. So if I'm trading, back, let's go to the 4-hour. So if I'm going back to this daily or 4-hour, now I'm waiting for that pullback and pause. And then once I do it, then I can put back the candle and see if I have, like I said, if I'm bearish, a red engulfing, shooting star with the wick on top, or a doji into a shooting star engulfing. Okay. All right, let's do just a few more. All right, we have Intel, IBM. Let's do IBM. Let's start with the daily. All right, so we can see IBM has been moving lower left to upper right. Now we have that upper left. Let's put in the line chart, and we can see that we've got some potential areas here and here. Let's put on the candle. And we definitely got that engulfing right there, that's for sure. But now, what are we looking for? We're looking for that next pullback and pause. Let's go to the 4-hour. Let's see if we see any fact. Again, just remember, the lower you go down, the more noise, but again, more setups. So let's go to the candles. So that would have been your setup candle right there. Okay. And then now we're still waiting for another pullback and pause on the 4-hour. Let's go to the 1-hour. And again, remember, I'm only looking for those pullback and pauses at or below the momentum band. I'm not interested when it pops up. Let's see here. Yeah. Let's go to the candles. All right, so you got your engulfing. You got your doji here into the engulfing. And then we had gap down. That would not have worked. So sometimes you don't get the good entry candles. Okay. Now I'm going to do another one, also a Masterclass 3, where I use Heikinashi, and I'm going to show you another way to do it. But right now I'm showing you line charts and candles. All right, so let's go see what else we had. We had UNH and Intel. All right, let's go see if those are any good. So basically what we're doing here is we are setting up from the symbols we looked at. So again, I'm going to go look at this, start with my daily. Okay. And this is the one thing I will tell you about stocks. You get a lot of gappiness. So that's where a lot of times I like to trade indices and futures and indices, because not as much. All right, so here you get the gap down, and then this would have been a nice setup right here. Just looking at it, and set up here, engulfing right there. So those could have been two setups in most recent. Now what are we looking for? We're looking for that pullback and pause now before we look for another trade. All right, let's do one more. UNH. Yeah, let's go to the daily. All right, now you can see UNH it had nice upper left to lower right. Again, we're going to look at anywhere where there's. Okay, now once we see that, let's go to the candles. All right, so we got the shooting star engulfing right there. We got engulfing there. So those are two that I like, and that right there. Those are ones I would look at right there. And then let's go to the 4-hour. Get a little more structure. Pretty much the same. All right. So there you go. So now what are we looking for? We're waiting for that pullback and pause. And this is what, again, this is our edge. We're going with the market power. We're using the line chart and candles and the momentum bands. And again, we're looking for those trades. Let me just put on SPY. So here we go. So we can see right now, we've had this beautiful bullishness. Now we're starting to get those lower highs right there. Let's put on our candle. So this candle right here, if we close below that, so here, go above the pivot right there. So if we break down below and we get bearishness, then this is a trade potentially I could look at with a 2-to-1. All right, let's go look at a 4-hour. Let's see. Put the line chart in. Let's see here, candles. Yeah, so again, we have to break below. You see how this candle did not break below. So again, if it does not break below, I have no interest. Put it below, above the most recent candle's pivot. Measure out 2-to-1. So if we break below, that is a trade that we could be looking at. All right, now again, we can go down to, all right, let's see the line chart. See, now I'm putting this kind of double bottom here. So again, we need to see that pullback, pause at or below the band. That's why I use the band, the moving average, to help visually. Here, let's put in the Dow so you can see it. There you go. So, all right, so here's your daily. At the double top, boom, beautiful. Right here, let's go see. There you go. That's a candle I would take right there. Yep, hanging man right there. Beautiful. Let's go down to the 4-hour. Let's put the line in. Let's see if we see anything here. See, this is the problem sometimes with stocks. You get these big candles, and I'm not jumping in. Let's go down to the hourly. Let's see if it showed us anything. Okay, gap down right here. All right, that's engulfing, very large. Yeah. Yep. Not the greatest of setups, but definitely these are the areas I'd be looking at, and then it's up to us to get if we get the candle or not. All right, so let's go back and review what we just did here for our masterclass watch list. So remember, this can be done on the weekend, it could be done on the close, but what I'm always paying attention is the earnings. And I just always want to know where the earnings and the news coming out. Fear and greed, I definitely, if I'm going to be bearish, I want to see that neutral or lower. If I'm bearish short term, I definitely want to see the momentum of the stocks below 50 heading down. I definitely want to see the sectors red. One day, 1 week, 1 month, and we definitely have more of that. Now, the commitment of trade report tells us, though, the larger trend, though, is still hanging in there. So you need to be aware of that. And then once we look at this, I'm always looking, I'm starting off with the sectors, the Dow, S&P, NASDAQ, NYA, the Russell, the FTSE, things like that. I'm also looking at the VIX, 10-year and dollar. And again, we know that the short term is weak. So as short-term traders, this is where we can take advantage of it. Now, if you don't mind trading counter trend, again, we like to trade commodity stocks like gold, oil, or DBC. If you're somebody that doesn't mind, you can see that oil, gold, and commodities, the ETF, they're trading up. So again, I recommend counter trend trading only for people in our community that have mastered or seasoned successful traders. Again, I recommend trading more with the power of the indices. Again, look at the indices, look at your odds enhancers, the VIX, 10-year, and then focus on those. But again, if you're a seasoned trader, then you can quickly look at oil, gold, and DBC and look that we are moving lower left to upper right. That's how you make money, bullish and bearish, right here. You see this? When we're moving lower left to upper right, those momentum into pullback and pauses, and then we get our entry candle, we're looking in. Same thing with bearish. When you have that upper left to lower right, again, that's why I focused on the Dow, and then we went to the Dow stocks. And again, you can do all this in stockcharts.com. This is free, by the way. I'm using their free version. And again, it allows me to quickly go to the Dow right here, and then quickly show me, again, we picked out upper left to lower right. I'm looking at Boeing. I'm looking at HD. I'm looking at McDonald's. I'm looking at J&J, Intel, IBM, Nike starting to bounce off the bottom, so no. And then UNH is breaking lower. So those are the ones that I would be looking at that, for me, have the clear. Remember, if it doesn't have clear bullish and bearish momentum price action, I'm not interested. So we just recapped everything. Again, if you have any questions, okay, just make sure you snapshot this. There you go. Again, we are very clear. Again, so we're clear. I do the same thing every day. I look at the news, earnings. I look at the fear and greed. I look at the 50-day moving average. I look at the sector information. I look at the commitment of trader report. I look at, again, all of the indices. Okay, I look at the indices. I look at the VIX, 10-year and dollar, and I want to see, the most important thing to me is, do we have that obvious bullish or bearish, or we have indecision? And right now in the short term, we have very nice short-term price action and in the indices, and we see the odds enhancers, your VIX, 10-year and dollar, starting to move up. So once we identify that, then today I'm showing you how to use the Dow stocks, the top 30, as a way to scan for opportunities. And then we look for as being bearish. And again, what I want to also see is, I want to see the day that we do trade. This is important. The day that we do trade, I want to see that continuing bearish price action. Because if I'm looking for a bearish trade and all of a sudden the indices and the sectors are bullish that day, well, that's not going to help me. All right. So I want to see the momentum that day being bearish. And then also, I showed you then using the chart how we use right here, how I use the momentum bands and the moving average with the line charts. And what I'm looking for, if I'm bearish, are those bands and moving average, obvious slope down, and I'm looking for momentum into pullback and pauses at or below that are obvious. And then I can switch to my candles. And then I'm looking for those obvious shooting star, red engulfings, or doji into the shooting star engulfings for bearish price action. And then if I get it, then I showed you how we use the tool on how to then put in our entry stop. And then I'm looking at a minimum of 2 to 1. Okay. Again, and how you're going to get this down is the same thing. We have what's called the Earn the Right to Trade Live process. It's education, it's back testing, it's replay, it's understanding your numbers. And you're going to go through this process until you understand, again, how to build that odds enhancers. What is the power of the market? Do I understand bullish and bearish range price action? Do I understand the setups in bullish, bearish, and range context way that we do it in our Watchlist Edge? And then it's up to you. You can use both. You can use FinViz to do your scanning, stockcharts.com, which is just a very quick way to do it and keep it in one, one tool. And again, once you then find that, then you're going to bring those symbols over to your watch list. You're going to break down each symbol. This is why I said you only need a handful of stocks. Do not have more than 5 or 10, because it takes time to break down each one. And then you're going to have them in a list. And then as long as the power of the market continues in your direction and you get the setup using it the way we showed you with momentum into pullback and pause, then you're going to have very high probability trades. All right. Now, if there's anything that you didn't understand about our Trade90X Watchlist Masterclass 2 using stockcharts.com, and then how we use the chart to break down each symbol we find, then hit us up at hello@trade90x.com. Ask us questions. You can go to our Trade90X Instagram page profile and book a 15-minute free call. I find this methodology is just a huge edge. And like I said, if you're somebody who trades stocks, you can do this every weekend, or you can do it at the close of any session. And again, you'll find the symbols doing this that are actually moving in the direction you're looking for. I'm not interested in symbols that I can't figure out. Okay. And the more that repetition, the more that you do this, the simpler it is to do. This is a very quick way for you to find and be efficient to trade symbols, whether they're bullish, bearish, and then understanding the odds enhancers that we use to find the symbols that are moving in the direction. And then again, the day of, making sure the momentum is in the clear direction you wanted. But the most important thing is this process right here, using the line chart with our momentum bands, quickly show you areas quickly of interest, whether you're trading on a daily, 4-hour, or 1 hour for your swing trades. Okay, are we clear? Great. All right, let's go back, and I'm gonna, since I'm doing this over the weekend, enjoy the rest of your weekend. And again, if you have any questions about this watch list 2 masterclass, hit us up at hello@trade90x.com.